You're watching Taste of Victory.
What's up everybody? I know this deck has been a long time coming. People have been waiting for it on the channel since it is the mascot of the channel, and it is finally here, MegaGargomon X2 Tribal. So I've been recovering from a sickness the past couple of days. I'm still not feeling 100%, more like 90, but I'm good enough to make this video, so sorry for the wait, but let's get to it. So let's take a look at the Mega that we're going to be building up towards. That is the new MegaGargomon introduced in X2. It is unfortunately 5 memories to digivolve into, which is quite expensive, but it is 13,000 DP. When digivolving for each Greek team you have in play, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon, and then all of those suspended Digimon do not become unsuspended on your opponent's next suspend phase. And then when attacking, once per turn, return one of your opponent's suspended Digimon with DP less than or equal to this Digimon's DP to its owner's hand. So both of these effects are really great. I think if the Digivolution cost was just a little lower, it would be a fantastically powerful Mega. Being able to suspend that many Digimon and get yourself another turn with all your Tamers out, since we are going to be running a lot of Tamers, is pretty useful. That non-targeting bounce removal is really fantastic as well too, because with 13,000 DP naturally, when paired with the DP boost that this deck has, you're able to remove almost anything. So it is really good removal for the deck. It's just kind of a shame it's a really expensive level 6, but it is potentially really clutch. So let's see what we are building up to support this deck. We have one of the Argomon, just a one of. Your turn inheritable. When this Digimon becomes unsuspended during your unsuspend phase, gain 1 memory. So that is a really easy condition to meet. We basically don't even have to do anything other than attack or Digizorb or something. And with this guy being 13,000 DP, it's going to be pretty easy unless our opponent has a lot of option removal to keep this guy on the field to gain that effect. Then we have Gummymon. Basically, green is a color with absolutely awful draw power, and Gummymon kind of patches that up with some draw power. It is a really easy condition to meet since we suspend a lot in the deck. Finally, we're moving on to our rookies. We are running almost a complete baseline of Terriermon. We will see why in a second, but we have Terriermon, the oldest one, back from 1.5, I believe. It is 3 to play, 0 to digivolve into, 2000 DP, and then all turns your opponent can't gain memory except with Tamer effects. So this is fantastic to shut off opposing memory boosts, stop Hammer Spark so you don't lose to them in security. Terriermon is a really useful utility rookie. Then we have the Searcher from Booster Set 8. It is 3 to play, 2000 DP. On play, you may reveal the top 5 cards to your deck, add 1 card with Gargomon or Rapidmon in its name among them to your hand, and place the remaining at the bottom of your deck. So this searches everything at any level in our deck from Champion upwards. So it's really great to be able to grab the pieces that you are missing if you're missing a specific level. Really good Searcher because it has a lot of chances to hit targets. And then we have the newest one in X2, 3 to play, 1000 DP, 0 to digivolve, your turn, once per turn, when you play a green tamer, gain 1 memory. We are running a lot, so that is a really appreciated effect, especially since if you have multiple of this card out, it stacks. Its inheritable is once per turn, when an opponent's Digimon becomes suspended, the Digimon gets plus 2000 DP for the turn. That is a very generous boost and a very easy condition to meet, so it's a great inheritable. And lastly, for our rookie lineup, we have Calumon. It's really more of an option. It doesn't even have a level technically. So it is 3 to play, 1000 DP, but if you have Terriermon or any of the other listed Digimon out, you can reduce the cost by 2, making it only 1 cost to play. It can't attack your turn, and then your turn, when one of your Digimon digivolves, you may suspend this Digimon to gain 1 memory, draw 1, and have one of your Digimon get plus 3000 DP for the turn. So this guy does a lot, and for only 1 memory, it is really fantastic. The reason we are running it at only 1 is because it is a good card, but I prefer to have memory boost, which we are running 2, which we'll see shortly. I just think the 2 memory gains as opposed to the 1 is such a bigger threshold to want than Calumon. However, the draw is amazing. The plus 3000 DP comes up a lot. That is a huge amount. So you could definitely feel free to play around and switch those ratios. That rounds out our rookies, and next up we got our champion lineup. So the first thing that may stick out to you right away is the Rapidmon over here, so let's go ahead and go over that. Because see, normally you are used to paying the full 4 memory for it in yellow hybrids. However, we have an entire Terriermon bottom end, so we can digivolve for only 3. It is 6000 DP, Armor Purge, and then when digivolving, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon for each Tamer you have in play, then up to 3 of your opponent's suspended Digimon get minus 5000 DP for the turn. So we are running this for the exact same reason any yellow hybrid deck would. It is incredibly powerful removal. It is amazing control. We are actually running quite a bit of Tamers, and it doesn't feel too painful in this deck. So it's kind of similar to yellow hybrids, you know, where we're running so many that it benefits off of it. And we have some tamers that even synergize with Rapidmon in this deck, so to reduce the cost even further. So it's really good, easy to slot in powerful removal at an early level. And since we have so many Terriermons, some that are even great to just harsh them onto the field, you can just slam it, pay the 3 off of Rapidmon, pass turn, and clear all of your opponent's searchers or whatever they spammed onto the board. So Rapidmon offers a lot of quick utility in this deck. After that, we got a bunch of me in here. We have Gargomon, the old one that is 1 to Digivolve into. Inheritable, your turn, this card gets plus 1000 DP for each of your opponent's suspended Digimon. So unfortunately, that is kind of dependent on your opponent's board, but even just a 1 plus 1000 DP is huge to be able to get your Digimon even bigger and swing over opponent's Digimon. And it can potentially scale pretty crazy. We have 4 of the new Rapidmon, 2 to Digivolve into, 5000 DP, and then when this Digimon would Digivolve, if you have a green tamer in play, reduce the cost by 1. So if you're going to Rapidmon, for example, this could turn it into a 2-cost evolution. So that is really good synergy. And then when you have, and then we have the Inheritable, your turn, once per turn, when an opponent's Digimon becomes suspended, this Digimon gets plus 2000 DP for the turn. So that's another DP boost effect, which is always great, because with the right stack, we can get some huge numbers to swing over opponent's Digimon. And lastly, we have Arbormon. This is just hybrid for game, always good to have. We're moving on to our ultimates now, of which you can see we have 8 by the stats up here. First up, we have Blossomon. It is 3 to Digivolve into, 7000 DP, but it has Digisorption, so you can basically Digivolve for free if you use its effect. This is really important because our entire top end is incredibly expensive. I think the cheapest Mega to Digivolve into in this deck is 4 cost. That is ridiculous. So we need to be able to save memory somewhere else. So being able to Digivolve into a Blossomon for practically free with this effect is huge. Then we have Rapidmon. This is 4 of the new one. It's really important because it has 3 to Digivolve into, 7000 DP, and then when Digivolving, if you have a green tamer in play, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. So this is just fantastic to have more opportunities to be able to suspend your opponent's Digimon, and pair with the new Gargomon or some of the other tamers that we have in the list we will see in a second. Being able to reduce the cost further is really great to be able to basically get a 1 cost or 2 cost suspension effect. Then we have the Inheritable, your turn, once per turn, when an opponent's Digimon becomes suspended, this Digimon gains security attack plus 1 for the turn. This is a really good Inheritable effect because otherwise this is basically a control deck, so you're kind of just poking away at your opponent's security. You can't really do too much pressure with security checks because you don't have too much ways to boost it, too much way to officially swarm field or anything like that. You're also kind of just playing a control deck that can't control too efficiently either compared to something like Yellow Hybrids, so having the option to have a little more aggro there with the Rapidmon Inheritable is really appreciated, and it will be necessary to be able to keep pace sometimes. So it's a really good Inheritable there, and why we're running 4 because of 2 great effects. After that, we got our Mega lineup. Previously, we talked about the new MegaGargomon from X2, and you can see now that we are running it at 3 copy. Now, I have experimented a lot between the ratios of old MegaGargomon and new one, because the fight cost is pretty intimidating, but most of the time, I really did find myself wanting the new MegaGargomon more, because that removal is really fantastic. It is non-targeting, non-destruction removal. Sometimes it's bad, because say into Yellow Hybrids, and the only thing you could bounce is Rapidmon, because this is a mandatory when attacking effect. So like if the only thing you can bounce is Rapidmon, you really don't want to give it another chance to nuke your field. Sometimes that kind of hurts, but other times you get rid of like a giant Digimon, like you can get rid of one of their Megas, You get rid of a Blossomon after they already spent so many resources DNA Digivolving, so it's hit or miss, but it is a really good effect that is easy to, once you get your stack set up, it's really easy to start removing stuff every turn. And MegaGargomon, the old one, what it does, it's 4 to Digivolve into, which is at least cheaper, 11,000 DP, which is unfortunately low, and then when Digivolving, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. It doesn't unsuspend during their next suspend phase, and then your turn, while your opponent has a suspended Digimon in play, this Digimon gains security attack plus 1. So it is cheaper, and it offers security pressure that this deck is otherwise missing that only Rapidmon provides. So this paired with Rapidmon gives you a lot of security pressure and becomes a good way to keep pace to any opponents that are aggro decks. So I've experimented a lot. I have done 2-2, I have done 3 old, 1 new. I have played around with the ratio a ton, and I just always felt whenever I see this thing in my hand that I would wish it was the new one. So this is the ratio, but I do appreciate the effect that this thing has, Definitely keep playing around with the ratios, like maybe there's an optimal ratio I haven't found out yet. Definitely, run whatever you feel is good for you. Play around with this ratio a lot, because I think it's open to interpretation plenty. But yeah, this one is fantastic, be able to remove move stuff unconditionally just based on DP. This one helps you be a little bit more aggro, and it does stun something and stop them from unsuspending next turn. And then finally we have Nidhoggmon. Nidhogg is fantastic because you're doing so much suspending of your opponent's Digimon in this deck already. So there's a lot of synergy there with Nidhoggmon to be able to bottom deck all of it. And since this isn't a hybrid deck, you know, you're not climbing off an Arbormon typically, you're saving this for lethal. Since this is a pretty much otherwise traditional level curve, you will have the sources to be able to use Nidhogg and bottom deck away your opponent's deck. So the one up there is really nice, just a clear board with how much suspending we do anyways. Feel free to play with that ratio if you end up liking it more. So options, we do not have too many, but we got some pretty impactful ones. First, we got the hidden potential discovered, because if you could run this, run it. This makes a lot of your top end free. Like, you could actually digivolve into this dude for free if you see the hidden potential discovered. So this card is just disgustingly good amount of momentum swinging. It is so important to see it. It's a great card. Then we have 2 of the memory boosts, because this helps you search the top 4 cards of your deck and add one green Digimon to your hand, so this can help you out with bricking. And then you can delay it later for 2 memory, which is really important to not pass turn on a lot of your Digivolutions. So I really like this card a lot. That's why we run 2 of it for consistency. A tech option you can consider is Samdi. So Samdi is a 1 cost. You may suspend one of your Digimon to suspend one of your opponent's Digimon or Tamers, and then if they were suspended through this effect, they can't unsuspend until the end of their next turn. So this is another easy way to suspend your opponent's Digimon. It does give them that extra turn of stun as well. The thing is, you have to pay attention to the wording of Samdi compared to other options. Your opponent's card suspended with this effect can't unsuspend. So for example, if something was already suspended before and then you go into the new MegaGargomon, you can still target it even if it's already suspended with its effect, and then even though you didn't suspend it, it will stay suspended at your opponent's next unsuspend phase. But because of Samdi's specific wording, it doesn't work that way. So it has to be with this. If something's already suspended, it'll be able to unsuspend next turn. So you know, that's one of the reasons I don't like running Samdi, because your opponent's already attacking you. You're already suspending them through other means so much, so by the time this does come up, you may not even get that benefit. It's something to consider for sure though, since it is only a 1 cost option. And finally, the Tamers are going to be ending out this deck list. We start off with 2 Mimi, pretty standard. People really like Mimi because it lets you get an extra breeding phase basically, and if you time it right, you can push out a rookie for lethal if they only have 0 security left and you just need 1 more swing. And being a memory tamer to guarantee you 3 at the start of your turn is always fantastic. After that, we got some of the new cards that were introduced in BT8 and X2. We have Willis. Willis is 3 to play, and then on play it's basically half a Mimi. On play, you may hatch 1 Digimon card to an empty space in your breeding area. Not too powerful an effect, but I get why they did it. It is Flavor representing his relationship with his Digimon in Hurricane Touchdown, so that's pretty cool there. And then your turn, when one of your Digimon will digivolve into a Digimon with Gargomon or Rapidmon in its name, you may suspend this tamer to reduce the Digivolution cost by 1. So this is actually a really good effect, and even though Willis is really not that great of a card, I have really debated running more of this guy just for that effect, because once you get multiple of this out, going into MegaGargle for 3, going into the old one for 4, going into Rapid for potentially free over a MegaGargle that you went into for 1 or free, you know, once this starts coming out and you actually get those cost reducing effects, it is really impactful for this deck, because it's really not efficiently costed, you know, Digivolution cost. It's not really efficiently priced with its memory. So Willis making a lot of stuff more balanced is really fantastic, especially when this comes out of security. So I felt 2 was a pretty good ratio. Feel free to play with that. It's pretty good for that second effect. And then we have Henry. We are only running 2 of this, making a total of 4 memory tamers, which is a good ratio. Your turn, when you attack with a Digimon with Gargomon or Rapidmon in its name, you may suspend this tamer to suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. So sometimes you're going to run out of your when digivolving effects and stuff like that to suspend through your normal Digivolution climb. So Henry being another option to just tap and suspend your opponent's Digimon comes up quite a bit. Because once you have MegaGargo set up, you probably spent a lot of resources into this, so you can't just make another stack right away to go into a second Rapid to suspend with Digivolution. So this guy is actually kind of important, I would say, to be able to trigger this guy's effect, to make sure you have something suspended if your opponent's been playing around it. You have a way to suspend them once you're out of other ways to suspend. So like Henry is pretty useful for that second effect. I would like to run it at more, but I think 2 is perfect because it's really mid. You know, it's really that one specific scenario where you want to see it. So I think 2, you're going to see it at the amount you want to. You know, it'll turn up in your games. It's more than enough. And the one we are running most of is Izzy. This is 2 costs from the old starter deck. Your turn, when one of your opponent's Digimon becomes suspended, you may suspend this tamer to gain 1 memory. So this is awesome, you know, because it's just another way to reduce your Digivolution cost. If you go into Rapidmon, this reduces, if you only have 1 out, it reduces it to a 2 cost then. So like, you can get some really efficient Rapidmon plays depending how many Izzies you have out. It reduces either Rapidmon, you know, since they both suspend. It reduces for your MegaGargomons when Digivolving. Izzy is fantastic synergy, and I have honestly been really tempted to run 4 just so I could get that stacking effect going. It's so good. It really makes your stuff super cheap. I think 3 has been pretty good though, because I do want to make room for my other tamers, and 3 makes me most likely to see it out of all of them. I really like it a lot. Really good amount to stack, and then be able to get free Rapidmons, you know, stuff like that. So I really like Izzy as a tamer. I think it's probably the most crucial just because how cheap it is too. Because a lot of your effects like Gargomon, like Rapidmon, you know, they want tamers out on the field. So with this guy out, he's a cheap 2 cost, and you can quickly start playing it out to get tamers on the field, you know. Especially when paired with Terriermon, it can come down to 1 cost, sometimes even free depending how many you have out. So yeah, it's just amazing synergy with the deck. It's probably my favorite tamer in the deck. And that is going to be the profile, guys. I really like this deck a lot. It is a slower control deck, and it does struggle a bit into the faster meta, especially once we get to BT9. But it flows really surprisingly well, more than you would think, especially right now. If you were playing in the Ultimate Cup, they have mulligans. So if your locals are using mulligans, I think it's a really sweet deck to get used to the game. So I would definitely recommend it. I love it because it's Gargomon. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Until then, remember to stay hungry until you get a taste of victory.